self-managed for a little while now. That didn't really work out for me. It was dealing with too much tenants and toilets and things. So I decided to just pay a percentage and take that off my plate and focus my time on what I really like to do, which was acquiring properties, finding the properties, walking the properties, running the numbers, putting the team together. So I put my focus on that and outsourced what I really didn't want to do, which was property management.
Welcome to the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing podcast, your source for real-world strategies focused on creating long-term wealth, cash flow, and financial freedom through real estate. Through guidance, tips, and stories of highly successful real estate investors and thought leaders, we provide you the tools to succeed and reach the lifestyle you always wanted. And now your host, Dwaine Clarke.
Podcast. This is your host, Dwaine Clarke, and today we have Dan Wynn, real estate investor, active duty military soldier, and the host of Financial Freedom Journal, a YouTube channel and podcast that shares his personal experience in real estate investing, as well as tips and tutorials on entrepreneurship and wealth creation. How you doing, brother Dan? How are you?
Great, I'm great. Thank you very much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, first of all, I want to say, you're very interesting because you have your active duty, real estate investing, have the family going on, as well as we had talked pre-show regarding the birth strategy that you are kind of started on and kind of perfected. Can you which kind of resonated with me because we haven't covered that topic yet here on the show. So I'm glad you kind of can give us some little information about that. But before we start off, would you mind telling us a little bit about your background? What kind of inspired you to serve in the military and how you got started in real estate?
Well, my name is Dan Wynn, as you've already mentioned. I am from Jacksonville, Florida. I'm actually a Navy brat, so I've been up and down the East Coast. I've lived a lot of different places, and I ended up going to high school in Jacksonville, or finishing high school in Jacksonville. So I usually say that's where I'm from, Jacksonville, Florida. So went to school in Orlando at UCF, go Knights, anybody out there listening, and just went into the ROTC program and joined the military that way. I joined the military because of the stability, the ability to obviously serve the country, and I met my wife through the military as well. So it's been really, really good for me so far. I do have 2 children, 2 little boys. They're great, and again, I'm married, so just having a good time with the family. Right now, I'm living up in New York. I'm stationed at Fort Drum. It's pretty much 10 minutes from Canada, so
wow,
it's cold up here, but it's good times.
Nice. So as far as, can you kind of explain to us, we had talked about the birth strategy. Can you kind of tell us about your first deal? Is that what you kind of utilized there, or you use a different strategy to get involved?
No, I did use the birth strategy. My first deal was a single family home. I've done a video on it as well on my YouTube channel, but it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home. It was about 1,300 square feet. I used a mix of savings and credit cards to actually complete the deal. I bought this deal in Jacksonville, Florida for cash. It was about $25,000. It was in what someone call an opportunity zone. So bought it for $25,000. I ended up putting about $25,000-$30,000 into it. It refinanced at $100,000. So I did 60% loan to 65% loan to value cash out refi. And that's pretty much how I executed that birth strategy. It rented out. I got a tenant in place in about 3 to 4 weeks, and it rented out for about $900. So it cash flowed decently. Cash flow about $50 to $100 a month, and I had no money in the deal. I got all my money back plus about $10,000 more, and then I took that capital and then put it right into another deal, and it ended up being a 4-unit. So continued to repeat that strategy over and over again. So
is that property also in Florida as well, or you got in another location?
So no, the other 2 properties I went out of state. I was kind of chasing opportunity at that point. Jacksonville started to get a little oversaturated, and a lot of investors started to come in and buying up all the single family and multi-family homes, and they were putting down cash offers, so this is my second deal at the time. So I was not able to compete with those that are putting up cash offers. So I went out of state, went to Georgia and right south of Atlanta, and I started buying there. So
Now, how did you find the deal? Was you working like with a broker, or did you kind of like, looked around yourself, and how did you end up, locating the first one?
So the very first one, I did a mix of looking on all the free websites, Zillow, Trulia, things like that. I contacted a couple of realtors, kind of tried to establish a team with my realtors, my brokers, my contractors, and things like that. I ended up using, I think, Zillow. I found it online, and then I went and walked the property with a contractor, and we ran the numbers on it, and it looked good. So we went ahead and went after it. We executed it, and it worked out very well. So.
And as far as right now, are you using third property managers, or are you still kind of self-managing it yourself?
No, I tried to self-manage for a little while. Now that didn't really work out for me. It was dealing with too much tenants and toilets and things. So I decided to just pay a percentage and take that off my plate and focus my time on what I really like to do, which was acquiring properties, finding the properties, walking the properties, running the numbers, putting the team together. So I put my focus on that and outsourced what I really didn't want to do, which was property management.
Yeah, there's like a lot of moving parts as far as like finding the deal, running the numbers, and then ultimately implementing that whole burst strategy. How'd you kind of started your educational platform to kind of learn about that? Was it just learning on the job? Did you have like any traditional courses or gurus or seminars that you attended to, or books that you read that kind of got you to that point?
So the first book that I read on real estate was Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's kind of one of those holy grail, real estate investing books. So I kind of flipped the switch in my mind and kind of gave me a different way to view money and a different way of building wealth. And from there, I attended Automobile University and was listening to podcasts and reading books and just continuing to build my knowledge base so that I can go forth and execute these deals.
What would you say kind of like the challenges that you had that you overcame, or something that you probably would have did different that would have made the transaction smooth, or maybe the whole thing went smooth?
No, the whole thing did not go smooth. It was a very eye-opening experience. The biggest issue that I had was with contractors. As you know, I know you've done flips in the past, and I know you're about to start doing apartment complexes, but contractors are very very tricky subject. So the first deal, the contractors was one of my buddies. So that first deal was very, very smooth. It wasn't until my second deal when I went out of state and I had to build a new team consisting of contractors, realtors, and things like that, that I found it to be very, very difficult. And I went through like a $54,000 lawsuit. It was a 4-month project. It should have only been a 4-month project, and it turned into an 11-month project. I dealt with a lot of lawsuits, a lot of opportunity that I could have spent time on something else, and but it was a very good learning experience. I understand how to write up the contracts. I understand that I need to make sure a lawyer is looking at the contracts that I have with contractors. So I learned a lot through that process.
Yeah, sometimes that's probably the biggest learning opportunity, is actually like failing or having some difficulty, because then now you pay attention more. You have to engage this person, you have to do this. So I always see it as a positive, because again, I had mentioned before, it's money you can always replace. It's a time thing, but then you're learning along the way.
You're right. Just sharpen your skills. You're 100% right.
Exactly.
Everybody, a lot of people look at losses as a huge traumatic event. And it can only be a huge traumatic event depending on how you look at it. So instead of looking at it as a loss or a major failure, you should be looking at it as a lesson, something that you learn, something that makes you stronger for the next deal.
Mm-hmm. So you doing this strategy? Are you continuing to do this more, build up the portfolio of singles and kind of small multis, or are you kind of looking to some other types of projects?
So I've done a couple of single families, and I've done a couple of small multifamily, 4 units and under. And right now I'm looking to expand out into apartment syndication. So we're looking at larger deals. Myself and another partner, we are analyzing deals and putting together our deal sample package. We're starting to raise capital for these larger investments, and that's what we're looking for right now.
Well, is there any ideal marketplaces that you guys like targeting? Is it kind of more close to home? Is there any like markets right now he's like, okay, we're going to start exploring these areas?
We're mainly looking in the Rust Belt area, the Ohio, Indiana, the kind of blue collar Rust Belt area is mainly where we're targeting, but we don't have any key specific market. So we're mainly chasing the opportunity, the actual deal. That if we look at it and the numbers make sense, the population makes sense, all those other external factors make sense, and that's where we'll invest. We're not really ruling out any one area, but we are somewhat concentrated in that like Ohio, Indiana, Missouri area.
Yeah, because they had mentioned a lot of blue collar workers. You know, the strength as far as employment numbers, population growth is like says beginning to steadily increase. So it's like a lot of good opportunities. I actually talked with another investor that is within that marketplace, and he had just a lot of good things to say. And like I said, on top of that, you have to be, of course, very specific, looking into each neighborhood and the specific deal. Are you guys looking at any like a target unit count? Like, is it under 100 units? Is it 50? Or is there anything that you guys looking to start out off at?
So we're looking for 30 units or more. We're mainly looking in the $1 million to $2.5 million range. Looking for Class B properties, obviously with value add opportunity. Essentially, I think that's what a lot of other people are looking for as well. But that's pretty much what we're looking for right now too. So
yeah, so you can't go wrong there. You know, looking at a good safe asset, good location, got all the numbers. Like I said, it just comes down to just finding that right deal that makes sense for you and your partner.
Right.
As far as people kind of want to take your steps, you had started off with the single family, the multifamily, implemented the burst strategy, now going up into the larger multifamily. Can you say there's any particular recommendation you give for people kind of starting out to help them on their journey?
The best thing that I did was, well, I have two of the best things that I did. One was educating myself, finding a book, reading books, going to the automobile university like we talked about, listening to podcasts. Number two was what I did in college, and I didn't really, I kind of knew what I was doing, but I didn't know how effective it would be. So while I was in college, and I read Rich Dad Poor Dad while I was in college, this was around 2009 timeframe. So the real estate market was still was still kind of bottomed out. 2011 was really when it bottomed out, but 2009 was the real estate market was kind of hurting as well. And during that time, I knew that I wanted to eventually invest in real estate. I knew that I wanted to learn how to flip houses. So I put out an ad in Craigslist offering to do free manual labor just to get on a job site and kind of learn. So what I learned during that time period, during that 1 to 2 year time period, I only did it for a couple of years. What I learned during that time period was invaluable, just because I got to see, like, actually experience what it was to flip a house and what it was to run the numbers, what you should be looking for when you're going through these potential deals. So that was the biggest thing for me, and I didn't pay for it. It was a free education. I mean, I did a little manual labor. I did, nailed a couple shingles on roofs, laid a couple floors and things. So, I mean, I got experience through that entire process, and that was invaluable for me. So when it came time for me to actually do my first rental property, a couple years later, it wasn't that big of a deal. I already knew that, hey, I've seen other people do this. I know that I can do it as well. So
that's very inspiring. And like a lot of people just not willing to do something like that, where you just offer yourself for free just so you can get access to learning the information, having, boots on the ground, like you guys mentioned, doing physical labor, whatever it takes to learn. Because then now when you transition it to do it yourself, it's like, I've done this before, so now it's just easier. So like, that's hats off to you. A lot of people definitely should be doing that in some capacity. I can remember times where I used to just call and email, people I find that like I watch them in the news, or if they wrote a big article, I'll try to find their website and like email them, say, hey, can I intern for free? And sometimes you don't get no call back, you don't get no email, but it's just like that mindset that's like you're willing to learn that information so much just to take you to that next level. So hats off to you, absolutely.
It's all about providing value. If you can provide value to someone, then things will work your way. That's the biggest thing, providing value. You can go out and do something, offer your service. Hey, if you're good at Excel, if you're good at running numbers, if you're good at manual labor, if you know how to do one thing, there's always skills out there that other people can use that they might not be great at the skill that you're good at. So you can easily trade that skill for your own gain, really, and provide value to others. That's really what it's all about. So.
So kind of what's of course, your end goal is financial freedom. Is there anything that's that motivates you every single day? That's like, real estate is my vehicle to get me to the next level. That, what is that one thing that kind of pushes you and kind of, started your journey on this?
The ability to, so initially it was just to, have freedom to be able to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. But once I had my kid, once I had my children, it took on a whole new meaning. So once I had my kids, it's like, all right, now I know what I'm working for. I know that I'm trying to build legacy wealth and pass on something to my kids when I'm gone, pretty much. I'm in the military now, and one thing that I say a lot to some of my other soldiers is, hey, you can't pass on your rank to your kids. I say that because a lot of people will give every single thing, their time, their resources, neglect their family and everything for the military or for civilians for their job. And they're not really looking at the bigger picture of thing. They're not really looking at the bigger picture and seeing that, hey, I have a family to live for. My job's going to be gone at some point, but my family's not going to be gone. My family's always going to be here. So that's just something that I really, really live for now, and something that's keeping me focused, keeping me steady. And then I have another big goal that I want to do is just being a mentor to other children, teenage children, really, and teaching financial literacy and how to build wealth through real estate. That's one of my other major goals, because I think that there is a lot of, especially in my culture, in my community, there is a lot of people that just don't know about it. And I think it's just because of a lack of exposure to what real estate is and how you can build wealth through real estate. So that's one of my major goals as well, is just to be able to give back and teach other people how to invest in real estate and how to make it work for them. So that keeps me focused.
Yeah, that's you hit the nail on the head there. When we had spoke on the phone, that was kind of one of the big synergies that me and you have. We have 2 young kids, got the wife, and it's like that's what pushes us every single day to get this thing moving. It's like I can't imagine like not having the financial means for my kids, and my my family. And I don't want them to struggle. I want them to have everything they need, and so stuff like that is just kind of
you want to be able to go to soccer games and basketball games and stuff. And if you're tied up in your job, if you're working for a job, if you're trading your time for money, then it limits your ability to go to soccer games, and kind of it takes away your freedom. It's all about financial freedom, the ability to do what you want to do, kind of when you want to do it. So.
That leads perfectly into my next question, to kind of tell us a little bit about your show, the Financial Freedom Journal, which kind of dialogues your journey in real estate investing, entrepreneurship, and wealth creation. Can you tell us a little bit about the content that you're producing, the kind of guests that you have on there, and what you can expect when you listen to the show?
Yeah, so with the Financial Freedom Journey, the whole reason I built that is because I was telling a couple of friends about real estate, and I found out that I had to keep repeating myself. So I figured, hey, let me just go ahead and capture some of this stuff and kind of walk you through my journey, teach you some of the lessons that I've learned, literally giving you real deal breakdowns that I've done in the past, and tips that I wish somebody would have told me, i.e. working with contractors. I made a video on that as well. So those are some of the things you can expect, as well as I have great guests like yourself. I have great guests like yourself that come on the show, and I interview and I pick their brains for my subscribers, so that hopefully other people's journeys will inspire them. So there's so many different facets of real estate, ways to invest in real estate. Like you, for example, you're doing triple net leases, and I know you're going to apartments as well, apartment syndication as well, but not many people know about triple net leases. So maybe that's an option that somebody wants to invest with. So by having guests on like yourself, it just opens up doors for other subscribers. I think it's a really good thing.
I love it. Yeah. So when you're not at the base, when you're not doing the real estate investing, what is kind of like a typical day for you?
Typical day for me. Well, typical day for me is spending as much time with my family as possible. So during the regular day, I wake up, I go to PT in the morning, I work, pretty much 9 to 5, if you will, and then I have a sacred family time between 6:30 and 8:30, and that's just untouchable time. I don't use my phone. I don't really do anything during that time except for hang out with the kids. Their bedtime is 8:30. We play some games. We make sure we eat dinner together. We take a bath, make sure, bathe the kids. And then we read a couple books before bedtime, and that's essentially it. Then on weekends, we're trying to do activities as well. We have at least one of my goals is to at least do 2 activities every single weekend with my kids. And that's what I've been sticking to. So that's what a normal work day looks like for me. I mean, outside of that, after the kids go to bed, I'm focused on growing my business, whether that be through education, reading books, listening to podcasts, or marketing, getting on shows, coming on shows like yourself. And that's pretty much what I'm focused on after 8:30.
Is there like a specific morning routine? Because I always ask the same question to all of the guests, because I'm always learning and kind of tweaking my stuff that I'm doing, kind of like a Tim Ferriss type of thing. Is there any specific morning routine that you do that helps you become successful?
So Hal Elrod wrote a book, which I'm sure you're familiar with, The Miracle Morning. He outlined savers. I think it's 6 things that every successful person that he's ever interviewed does. And he basically compiled them and basically broke them up. Hey, do these in 10-minute increments, and that's your miracle morning for 1 hour. I don't have an hour a morning, so I split that up throughout the day for the most part. So my morning routine, I get up in the morning and I go to PT. I'm at Army PT, physical training, in the morning from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. The very, very first thing I do before I even go to PT is read my goals list. And then I go off to PT. So I get my exercise in there. And then throughout the day, I'm pretty much doing everything else that he's written in that book. Scribing, journaling, doing my affirmations, doing my reading, doing my physical activity and so on and so forth. So
yeah, that's great stuff. And I'm always like trying to find new ways to kind of improve myself. I have my little routine. And of course, like when you have kids and you have a family, sometimes that gets thrown out the window. So that's why I was kind of like curious on what you did so I could, see if I'm doing anything wrong. But I know you have a huge library. You're always educating yourself. Besides the Miracle Morning, the Rich Dad Poor Dad, is there any books that you could recommend to the audience to check out that can help them on their journey?
One of the books, it's not really a financial book. It's more of a, I guess, a spiritual book. It's not spiritual in the sense of like Christianity, just self-awareness, I guess. That's probably a better way to put it. But The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. I don't remember what I can't think of the author's name right now, but that's one of my favorite books right now. It just kind of opens your mind to make sure that you're looking at the bigger picture at all times. And that's one of my favorite books right now. And I would definitely recommend that to anybody. It's called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. There's a couple other books that I really, really love. Tim Ferriss, as you mentioned, his book, 4-Hour Work Week. I love that book because it teaches you all about systems and how to maximize your time as much as possible. Obviously, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and really almost any one of his books are great. Cash Flow Quadrant, Tom Wheelwright's book, I think it's called Tax Advantages of the Rich or something like that. There's a bunch of books that I could recommend. But right now, my favorite book is The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
I think it's like Robbins. I can't remember his last name, but yeah,
Robin
Sherman. Yeah. So yeah, excellent book, and glad you gave us those those titles there. And it's like I say, what I'm really kind of getting from this interview is that you really have a strong foundation, strong core. You know exactly what you want. You have a vision, and you're just kind of chipping away and just getting, closer and closer to your ultimate goal of, financial freedom and living a life on your means. So that's very inspiring, and I'm glad to kind of have the time with you. How do we get in touch with you? I know that we can find your YouTube channel and podcasts all over the net. Is there anything, I know with your investment company, would you mind sharing those details for our guests as well?
Yeah, sure. I'm pretty big on social media. I just got on Instagram not too long ago, but you can look me up on social media or Facebook, or really any social media period, at Dan Wynn, REI, for real estate investing. So Dan Wynn, DAN, Wynn, WYNN, REI. You can look that up anywhere. You'll find me. As far as YouTube, you can find me on YouTube. I have the YouTube channel. It's called Financial Freedom Journal. Look me up there. Other than that, I have a business page. It's wininvestmentteam.com. I don't really do too much there, though. It's mainly for tenants, and it's pretty much just for tenants for the most part. So that's about it.
Awesome. Again, that's Dan Wynn, REI. You can look him up on social media. His website, wininvestmentsteam.com. Look up his YouTube channel and podcast, the Financial Freedom Journal. Dan, thank you so much again. It was excellent to speak with you all the time. It's like I said, you inspire me. You have a lot of synergies, and look forward to continue to follow your journey and keeping in touch, and seeing us moving to the next level all the time.
Definitely, man. Definitely. I love seeing other people succeeding. If you have any questions for me, like I said, please reach out. And Dwaine is an excellent source of information as well. The first time we talked, just like you said, we had a lot of synergies. I think we kind of hit it off right there. So I will definitely be in contact, and that's be good. So.
All right. Thanks again. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
All right. See you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes or the listening platform of your choice. Also, please check us out at DwaineLClarke.com, as well as find us on Facebook for more useful content and resources.